got this fantastic pair of George Cleverley Bespoke shoes. They were made in 1968. I've been restoring them on and off probably about a year, and the lighter shoes had a huge amount of work. This one less so. It's been stripped. I've stripped the polish with solvents. It's quite a job actually on such an old shoe. You can easily spend 8 to 10 hours just stripping with a solvent. And if we look very closely, you can see the skin's in quite bad condition. There is quite a lot of cracking to the vamps, and coming around this side, the cracking's, it's somewhat worse. It looks horrendous. It's not the end of the world. It can, with patience, be removed. The biggest issue with these shoes, with the actual stitching, a lot of this around here has been completely redone by hand. This area, it's actually fake. It's purely decorative. That's original stitching, but much of this around here completely perished and it had rotted, and you could peel the skins back. Where the elastics are at the side, the elastic was all stretched and baggy, and it was a bit of a mess. So they've had a lot of time restitching. What I need to do with this particular shoe, it's stretched enormously. If I get it close to the camera, you'll be able to see this is sort of flopping about, and there's a little bit on the vamps here, probably only about 10 mil. As stretching goes, that's not too bad. The majority of it is down here, really quite badly stretched. And we know it's stretched. This is the original Bespoke tree, made in 1969. It was made for these particular pair of shoes, and that is the perfect size for that shoe. It should fit beautifully together. It no longer does. The leather stretched, obviously the wood stayed the same. With steam, I've resized this shoe. This shoe doesn't have any longer the same issue. It's the bagginess, which was exactly the same on this shoe. It was just like this one, horribly sort of squashy and baggy. That's no longer the case. It's nice and tight on this shoe. It's been removed with steam. All of the bagginess and tight it's all tightened up. It was very, very baggy here. You could pinch quite a bit. You could wriggle it about. It's nice and stiff. Got all this gorgeous sort of profile, which is very typical of George Cleverley. They often bulge out here. That's all. It's all been restored beautifully. So this one's been restitched. It's been shrunken with steam. And I'm now in the process of removing a lot of this horrible sort of surface cracking on this shoe. And I do that with emery papers, abrasive paper. I've got 3 here. I think I've started with a sharp paper, and that's 120. It's quite sharp, and so I just take a little strip and working in circular motion, keeping away. You've got to keep away from the stitching. You can work right up to the stitching, like a 0.5 millimetre perhaps from the stitching itself. Just staying on the skin, avoiding the stitching entirely. On the pieces between the stitching, you have to kind of fold and roll the paper so it's only about 1 millimetre or so wide, and keep it on its edge, and you can just get between the stitches to sand between the stitching but not over it. I can't stress enough, you cannot sand over the stitching. It will just disintegrate very quickly. So I just work away. It takes hours, slowly cutting away. These have had the first cut with 120 grit. Once I've done the rest of the shoe, it needs quite a lot around the back. I haven't really done any around here. I think it's just a quick lick, but nothing more. It needs a couple of hours of work with a 120 grit around here, working away. It will end up in the dark patches. It will end up very light. The light areas have had a lot of cutting, but it's only been one cut with one sharp paper. So then I'll go to a finer paper, 120 first, then maybe 180, and then finally I'll finish it with a much finer one. This is 320. It's actually a little bit coarse. I'll probably finish it with 400. Once that's been entirely sanded 3 times, it becomes very, very smooth. The skins are extremely soft. All of the coarse and the rough, this here, it's like it's kind of crackly. It's very much like the hard skin you would get on your feet if you neglect your feet. No amount of moisturising cream is going to restore that on your feet. You will have to use like a foot file or a pumice stone to rub away the dead skin. And underneath that dead skin, it's soft, it's fresh, it's crack free. And it's exactly the same here. It's kind of, you'll hear it crackling. It's horrible. It's all crunchy and broken. The skin seems to sort of swell slightly, and then it cracks. And it's when you're taking away the surface, you would think, well, that's going to get thinner and thinner. It's not noticeably thinner. You just, even though you might have spent several hours standing away, you can't really feel the difference because it seems to swell. The skin swells, so you're taking off a few microns of the swollen skin, and it doesn't matter how long you sand for. The skin doesn't seem to get any thicker, but it certainly gets smoother and fresher. There is several hours involved, and I don't know, maybe on this pair, everything that needs to be done from the stripping to the shrinking, the restitching. I've had to tighten up all the elastics, then this resurfacing, re-dyeing, probably about 60 hours. It's an awful lot of work, but they're a magical pair of shoes. And I'll do further videos showing you of whether it be this shoe or another shoe. It doesn't really matter. The processes are very much the same. So I'll do a lot more of the resurfacing, and in particular, I think it's important to show you that the resizing process with the steam. It looks brutal, and quite honestly, it is quite brutal. But done with care, you can get away with this. And this pair of shoes, with probably another 25 or 30 hours on the pair, they will come out looking almost like new. They'll be absolutely stunning when they're completely finished. I'm looking forward to wearing them, and I'll keep filming the process.